Wear safety glasses when working. Wear safety gloves when working. Wear safety boots when working. Do not make excuses. One mistake can cost you your finger, eye, toe. What is a safety tip everyone should know about? As a lifelong Floridian, I see this all the time here and elsewhere in the news. In the event of a disaster, stay the away from down power lines. Don't walk along the street with them. Don't drag your car over them. Don't take selfies with them. They're thunder noodles and have been known to kill. My brother, 10 at the time, myself, 3, took our dog for a walk after a storm. We did not know the power lines had come down. My brother stepped in a puddle of water and got electrocuted, wires across his feet. Thinking something was biting him, I pulled the wires from his feet with my hands. I stopped breathing. A neighbor from up the road saw what was happening, grabbed a blanket, and pulled the wires from my hands. The neighbor gave me mouth to mouth and saved my life. He received a bravery medal from the Queen. Roughly 50 years on, my brother still has visible scars across his feet, and I have scars across my hands. The gates on a railroad crossing are meant to break away when driven through. If your car ever stalls out on a crossing, don't bother with 911. Look for the blue sign posted on the crossing gates themselves and call that number. That number will get you in contact with the train dispatcher, who can let oncoming trains know about it immediately. If you have a skin mole that has blurry edges, isn't symmetrical, is a weird shade of red, weeps fluids, or acts like an open wound that won't heal, you might have skin cancer. Go to a doctor immediately. Melanoma kills fast. My grandfather had a melanoma growth on his neck. My grandmother was pushing him to get it checked, but he didn't think it was a big deal. My dad's getting married, the family's in town. And my grandfather's uncle and cousin, uncle's son, are doctors. As my grandfather's getting dressed for the wedding, my grandmother pulls in his cousin and makes him check out the spot before Gramps finishes getting dressed. Cousin looks concerned, calls his dad in. Uncle says, "I need to use your telephone," and goes to the other room and closes the door. Comes back 10 minutes later and says, "All right, so that's cancer, and you've got a surgery on Monday to remove it in X city 3 hours away where cousin lives. If you don't go, this will be the last marriage you ever attend. Congrats to my dad, by the way." So they get dressed, wedding happens on Saturday, they drive to the city on Sunday, he gets surgery on Monday, and he comes home after cousin made him stay a few days to monitor him and make sure he was good. Every time they visit now, they make Gramps take his shirt off. If you're treating a gunshot victim while waiting on an ambulance, the best thing you can do is apply constant pressure to the wound. Bind it if you can. But whatever you do, absolutely do not remove bandages if they get too bloody. Just add more. Don't give the wound any chances to bleed out more than it already is. You cannot drink the waters from cactuses in emergency due to acidity and toxic alkaloids, which causes vomiting, diarrhea, and mass dehydration, especially when you're hungry or thirsty. Edit: I never knew so many facts about cacti myself until I Googled few of them when I got asked in reply. You're more likely to be attacked in a transitional space, going into and out of buildings, cars, and especially between the two. You let your guard down because you're thinking about what you're going to do when you get there, not what you're doing right now, and not what's going on around you. Stay alert, stay safe. Never ever sneak up behind a horse, ever. Stupid short story. Went to grab my pony from the field the other day. She's facing me, watching the road. All the other mares are in a row, napping in the sun, facing her, and more or less facing away from me. We have a double latch on the field fence, a chain plus another latch. It took opening both latches, opening and closing the physical gate, and calling my mare's name for the other mares to wake up and scatter, buck farting around. They were startled enough that I could have easily been knocked over if I hadn't been sure to wake them up before getting within a dozen feet of them. The moral of the story: when horses feel safe, they pay far less attention and act like idiots when startled. Also, an upright horse isn't necessarily awake. Sharp tools are safer and easier to control than dull ones. This goes for basically anything with a blade, whether it's a saw blade, utility knife, chisel, or simple kitchen knife. You're more likely to slip, lose control, or kick back with a dull blade. If everybody else is staying on the beach, don't go running into the ocean. They might all be staying on the beach for a reason, like jellyfish. I learned the hard way, so you don't have to. The ocean near where I live is extremely dangerous. It's rough and cold year-round, with big waves close to the beach. Going in past your ankles is a risk, and going in up to your knees is seriously dangerous. But every so often, there are still stories like person from out of town visits, tries to swim/surf, immediately drowns. Never get into a vehicle if someone is trying to kidnap you. If you can help it, it's better to fight and scream as much as you can because once you get in the vehicle, your chances of survival go down significantly. One of the few occasions where you should absolutely fight a gun or knife, assuming you can't run away. Better to get stabbed or even shot at a place you might receive treatment than wind up unharmed at a second location where worse things likely await. If you have been on the fence for a while about being too cold to continue in a backcountry situation, you are already too cold. Immediately make emergency efforts to get warm. Being hypothermic severely clouds your judgment. Can confirm. A roommate and I were driving through VA in winter back in the early 2000s. The car heater was not great and didn't blow hot air most of the time. We got tired and pulled over thinking we had coats and small blankets. We could rest safely. I woke up 4 to 5 minutes later and was very confused and groggy, more than I should have been. I had to lightly slap my roommate to wake her. Saying her name and shaking her didn't help. We were both confused and disoriented despite having made the trip a dozen times before. I got us inside a rest stop to warm up a bit and every muscle in my body hurt. When boiling a pot of water, turn the handle inwards towards the center of the stove/counter. That way somebody, especially a kid, won't come by and knock it over or grab it and pull it over on themselves. If you fall forward, put your hands out to break your fall in order to protect your face. Besides preventing a head injury, broken arms heal, broken teeth do not. Don't open any packages or bottles or shells, etc. with your teeth. You will chip or break your teeth and have pain and expensive dental bills. Edit, use forearms and hands to break falls, when possible, or tuck and roll, or train extensively via YouTube tutorials so nothing gets broken. There are different kinds of fires, and using the wrong suppressant can fuel or spread the fire more. The most common example of this is how water will cause an oil fires to spread. Some fire extinguishers are only good for certain fires, based on the rating, so make sure you read what fire types it works on before purchasing. Baking soda works great on small grease fires. Please, for the love of God, take care of your teeth. Even if you don't care about losing your teeth, abscesses and other dental issues can cause problems throughout your body. Don't ignore dental problems at all. You'd be surprised how quickly it can all go south. If you've been stabbed, leave the sharp object in the wound until it can be treated by a professional. Sometimes the knife/stick/whatever is the only thing sealing the wound so you don't bleed out. On a similar note, if you for some reason get stabbed in the eye with a stick, cover both eyes. Moving your injured eye can cause more damage, and it's impossible to move your eyes independently, and if they aren't covered, you'll instinctively look around with the uninjured one source. Boy Scout first aid training. If you're renting a home, don't rely on the fire extinguisher that the landlord put there. Buy your own and keep it visible and easily accessible on a counter in the kitchen. Also change it every year or two depending on expiry dates. It's better not to hang kitchen towels on the stove handle. They might catch fire. Before getting into your car, always go around the car and check the tires. Buy a humidity thermometer and put it in your home. Humidity should be between 30% and 60%. Above that, left unchecked, mold will start to form. Always have the business card of your emergency contact in your wallet/purse. After moving to a new place, always know where is the nearest emergency room and how to get there easily. Always have a plunger in your bathroom. Always have cold and flu medicines in your cabinet.